Welcome to the ArtSpace Connect conference. We are very happy that you are here. Before we start, some general and technical information. Normally, I would have been part of the live stream from the venue Kunstpunkt Berlin today, where we are very gratefully guests of the Netzwerk, freier Projekträume und initiativen. But COVID-19 has crossed also our plans. It's Corona lockdown for us in Berlin, as I am sure it is the case also for many of our participants and listeners coming from a wide range of different regions today. So I'm talking to you today from my Berlin studio. The live part from Kunstpunkt is reduced to the talk by Sophia Tabatadze, Matthias and Giorgi Rodionov, which you will see on screen in some minutes. You can follow this stream until about 2:30 p.m. Then there will be a short break. And about 3 o'clock Berlin time, we are back again via Zoom live stream. If you have not registered yet for the Zoom participation, you can still do so. See the registration link on the Igbk front page and here below in the text for the stream. And please, if you have questions to the speakers, take those questions with you to the Zoom part starting at 3 p.m. There will be plenty of occasions to bring those up again and numerous Q&A parts for the conference. Now I would like to briefly introduce the project partners and myself. My name is Moira Zoitl. I'm a visual artist and a board member of Internationale Gesellschaft der Bildenden Künste, Igbk, one of the organizers of this project. The Igbk project team includes a number of people who support the conference in front and behind the scenes. My colleague Marcel Nowak, who is also active in the Igbk board, from the Igbk office, Constanze Brockmann, Christine Himsoth and Thomas Weiß. Furthermore, Maria Wildeis, who will support us as moderator for tomorrow's afternoon sessions and one of the workshop groups tomorrow morning. And the team of Greve Studios and Ibrahim Kaji, who are helping us with technical issues during the conference. A big thank you to everyone. ArtSpace Connect is a cooperation of Centrala Berlin, GeoAIR Tbilisi and Igbk. I'm therefore very pleased to introduce our cooperation partners. Centrala Berlin is a new association for Central and Eastern European art based in Berlin, affiliated with Centrala Space in Birmingham, UK. Centrala, originally set up in the UK in 2014, has gone on to establish itself as an internationally recognized center for Central and Eastern European art and artists. Alicia Kaczmarek, who runs Centrala Birmingham, and Berenika Bartum, a Berlin-based curator and cultural manager, are both co-founders of Centrala Berlin, together with Agata Lisiak. Alicia and Berenika will start our Zoom part today at 3 p.m. Berlin time, and they will report from their experiences about the importance of exchange with independent art initiatives from Central and Eastern Europe. Our second cooperation partner today is GeoAIR from Tbilisi, Georgia. GeoAIR was founded in 2003 by Sophia Tabatadze. With GeoAIR, Sophia organizes and supports international exchange projects in Tbilisi by bringing together artists and curators from different cultural backgrounds. She works likewise as a visual artist in Germany and internationally. Sophia will moderate the following debate on the profile of independent art initiatives, and will also later at 4 p.m. report about GeoAIR and other independent art initiatives in Georgia. We are very pleased that the conference can take place in this form, despite the adverse circumstances caused by the corona pandemic. Crises such as this show us the fragility of our capitalist world. Existing social inequalities and exclusionary dynamics are reinforced. The concept of the nation-state is being revived, and it's becoming increasingly solid. Under these conditions, it seems to be particularly important to us to deal with forms of cooperation in a global context. The question of how this cooperation takes place is central. Are there possibilities of a non-hierarchical dialogue without an othering rooted in the European thinking of national borders? Independent art initiatives and artist-run spaces play a significant role in this cooperative activity. They enable more experimental forms of art and cultural production, and thus also constantly test new methods of exchange. With ArtSpace Connect, we wish to strengthen the international exchange with independent art initiatives and with artist-run spaces in Central and Eastern Europe and the Caucasus. During the conference, we would like to discuss the following questions, among others. What is the specific profile of independent art initiatives and artist-run spaces, and how do they develop and reach their audience? What is the status quo of international exchange amongst those initiatives? What are the regional perspectives and political frameworks to consider? Which new setups can we imagine? Together with representatives from the Allianz Kulturstiftung, the European Cultural Foundation, and the Creative Europe Desk Kultur Deutschland, we will also discuss the question, how do we find creative and alternative ways to support and finance artist-run initiatives and the international exchange amongst them? For many years, the Igbk has addressed the work and the exchange of independent art initiatives and artist-run spaces. I would like to name just a few selected examples of past Igbk projects. Dreams of Art Spaces Collected was an artistic research interview project by Dorothee Albrecht, Alf Löhr, Andreas Schmid, and myself for the Igbk. Between 2007 and 2015, the project has investigated visions and experiences in exhibiting and mediating contemporary fine arts in China, Europe, Australia, and India. The project gathered various perspectives of artists, curators, and theorists living and working in these regions. The primary focus was on non-profit project spaces and artist initiatives. Most of the interviews made during the research are now also available on the Igbk website. In 2008, 76 artist-run initiatives from throughout Europe took part in the open Igbk forum Art Swap Europe at the Berliner Akademie der Künste. Apart from the presentation of the invited initiatives, the event focused on artistic exchange and networking in Europe. Panel discussions complemented the talks and presentations. All these projects and many more are documented on the Igbk website. Please take a look. And last but not least, I would, of course, like to mention Touring Artist, the online portal for artists working internationally, which is also an important tool for artist-run spaces realizing international exchange projects. Touring Artist is a project by Igbk, the International Theatre Institute, Germany, and Dachverband Tanz, Deutschland. It offers artists and organizers working internationally profound knowledge of topics, taxation, social security, visas, customs, insurances, and copyright. In the run-up to our conference today and tomorrow, we have already started the ArtSpace Connect project with 2 digital talks. The first discussion in July, moderated by Sophia Tabatadze, with Tinatin Gurgensia from Tbilisi Architecture Biennale and Marika Kuzmic from the Arton Foundation Warsaw, reported on current digitization projects and audience strategies, on international cooperation, and on the financing structures of independent art initiatives. The second talk in October, with the title "What's Up with International Mobility Today?" was organized in collaboration with Leipzig-based Lindenau Festival. Alicia Kaczmarek from Centrala Birmingham met digitally with the Armenian curator Anna Kamai, the Armenian artist Ara Petroshvan from Art Lab Yerevan, and with Marie Lesourd from the Cultural Mobility Information Network On the Move. The discussion focused, amongst others, on the current conditions for the international mobility of artists and independent art initiatives. Both talks can be streamed on the Igbk website. Last but not least, we would like to thank the funders of Igbk, the German Commissioner for Culture and Media and the Kulturstiftung der Länder. Without their support, events like ArtSpace Connect would not be possible. Now it only remains for me to wish everybody a stimulating and informative conference. With this, I hand over for the starting conversation to my colleagues on site at Kunstpunkt Berlin.
Hello. I'm very happy to welcome two of you here. Here today with us are Giorgi Rodionov and Matthias Moira. My name is Sophia Tabatadze. I'm a visual artist and curator / organizer based from Georgia, based in Berlin. I'm actually very happy to welcome you here in this space in Berlin. This is actually the only physical talk we will be having throughout this 2 days conference. So we are in flesh together, which is kind of unbelievable, and we are in Kunstpunkt in Berlin. And I'm super happy to be again in Kunstpunkt. Because last year, actually exactly last year, I have curated a show here in Kunstpunkt, which was Greetings from Georgia. And I invited all the Georgian artists who are based in Berlin to show their works here. So of course 2020 looked like everything would be cancelled, but at this moment it feels like the kind of conversation started back then between Georgia and Berlin, between Georgia and Germany, more Berlin, in a way continues with two of you now here. Before I go to you and ask you some questions, I want to say that this is a live this is a recording at the moment, and we're live, and therefore it will be not possible to ask the questions. I'm telling this to the audience now at the end of this session, but please remember the questions, and then there will be a chance throughout today or tomorrow to ask these questions, and we will find some way to answer them. So one other thing is this, we're organizers of this conference together with GeoAIR is the organization that I'm presenting, and together with Igbk and Centrala Birmingham and Centrala Berlin, we are organizing this 2-day event. So please join us, and I hope it will be interesting for everyone. So Giorgi Rodionov is from Tbilisi. Matthias Moira is from Berlin. I will start asking you, Giorgi, to tell us a little bit about yourself and about the gallery that you are running in Tbilisi.
Thank you very much, Sophia. It's a big pleasure for me to be here. Actually, it was quite a trip from Tbilisi to Berlin these times, when traveling seems quite impossible. As you mentioned, I'm from Tbilisi. We founded this Untitled Gallery at Tbilisi last year in March. But before touching this topic, let's say, of opening new spaces in Tbilisi, I would say a few words about myself. I'm an artist as well. From the very beginning, I was very much interested in the social structures and how the societies work and how it's basically brought together, especially after the collapse of Soviet Union, when Georgia was facing massive problems of running the country, basically. And that was the reason why I was very much interested in social issues and political issues in the region, not only Georgia, but in the whole South Caucasus. And that was the main goal of creating the art space or the space for the artists to speak up about the social issues. Because I think it's very important that nowadays art speaks about the issues. And it's not only the beautiful paintings on the wall, but it takes the lead on social changes, which is, I think, very important when politicians sometimes don't really care about the societies they're supposed to work for. It's important that art is dealing with, or at least speaks about it. And with the Untitled Gallery, we are collecting artists not only from Georgia, but also from Azerbaijan and Armenia, and we bring them together. So most of the projects that we hosted or we created in the frame of the art space, we are including these three countries, and we are bringing the artists to work together on the issues, not as like one specific community, but the whole region, because I think these three countries, they share quite common problems, which is politics, which is the borderization, and which is very huge social issues in the region. And I think it's important that artists come together and they speak about these problems together. And we have collaborators from Azerbaijan and Armenia, and quite strong actually, that we work together and we try to change something in the region. This is shortly what Untitled Gallery does for now, and we have further plans. Maybe I will tell it a bit later. But,
Thank you. And now, Matthias, please tell us about yourself and about your gallery, art space that you're running here in Berlin.
I'm an artist, also a musician, and an exhibition maker and project space. Run a project space since 2003 in Berlin-Wedding. It's called Spor Klübü, which is Turkish for sports club. Not really grammatically right. It should be Kulübü, but Klübü sounds a little cooler. And yeah, I'm running shows, different shows like group shows and bigger group shows. Once a year I make like a network, I call it like a network group show. Then I invite like lots of artists based in Berlin, like international artists. And we show works on different political issues actually coming from the 80s. Like old-fashioned quotes, not only from the political quotes, but also like from music or different quotes, but with a political aspect behind it. So this is one thing I do, but mainly like my focus is on solo exhibitions. So because I think like artists have a really hard time in Berlin to get like to organize solo exhibition, to find a place to do a solo exhibition. Like it's really easy, like it's a common concept like all over the places, even if it's an off space, so-called off space, or an institution, to get a solo show on is pretty a hard job, you know. So I think this is important because it's there's lots of really good artists like around here that not getting popular because of the amount of artists, you know. There's too many people in the city. And yeah, and then I'm open, of course, for third parties like institutions, do cooperations with other institutions or other curators, having their own concept, come in with their concept already, and I have like open doors. And I'm not only doing exhibitions in my space, I also choose other spaces, like I did also an exhibition here, like a series of exhibitions. So now, yeah, I have actually also a funded exhibition series to a really actual subject, like it's called Reimagining America. So with 4 or 5 solo exhibitions, 2 screenings, and a panel discussion at the end, which is unfortunately now stopped. You know, I had to close the project space. Yeah, and have to change plans for the November, postpone stuff to December, and yeah, it's kind of a little bit. We have like a little bit parallel, I think, aspects in the way we are working, you know, because of also I have like an interest in pointing out political issues and or about the self-image of artists, for instance, and yeah. And I'm engaged in the network of project-based initiatives where we're heading later on.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much. I think one thing I want to stress, like I think it's super important, the solo shows indeed, because it is very hard. Unless you're represented by a gallery and you live here, it's almost impossible to have a solo show. Mm-hmm. And this kind of group shows sometimes get a little bit like random, of course. So I think it's a very important point. And I want to continue with you, Giorgi, because, well, I will kind of explain a little bit the context, because if you live in Georgia or in Armenia and Azerbaijan, especially at the moment when we are talking, there is a war going on, so it's between Armenia and Azerbaijan. So like the problems are always there. It's always heated. It's always, there is something going on. It is not very usual that we, the neighboring countries, do something together. So kind of looking from here, one might think, you know, this is kind of logical, but just to explain the context a little bit, we usually meet our Armenian or Azeri colleagues outside on the exhibitions organized by Western Europe and financed by Western Europe. So I think it's kind of super important to kind of clear this point out and to say that this regional cooperation is as important, let's say, as the international cooperation. So from that light, you also said that you can speak about other organization, which is in Baku, in Azerbaijan, Salaam Cinema, the name of it is, and you have worked with them so closely that you can even kind of represent them or talk about them. So maybe tell us about the character of your cooperation and about the Salaam Cinema itself.
Yes, you're totally right. Even though the South Caucasus region is very small, there is still a lot of conflict going on with these three nations. And that's why we started this art space, to bring them together and to point the issues that we have. And these are not the issues that we need to fight about, but to work together to solve it. And that's why we thought that art needs to be the leading point in this. And actually it was quite a productive way of working, especially with Salaam Cinema. And we are collaborating so much that I can easily represent them here. They started a few years ago in a very small place. It's called Chaykhana. It's like a space in Azerbaijan where mostly men gather together, and they play some games and they drink tea.
There are a lot of them in Berlin, so we kind of know.
Okay. Cool. And they started with a small cinema inside this place, which was very, very nice and important. They were not showing, obviously, these commercial movies, but very important movies that also speaks about human rights in the region. And one day they just went for the weekend outside of Baku, and they came back and this building was demolished. So that was the starting point of realizing that, yes, it's not really easy to do something in South Caucasus. And then they found this new place, which used to be the temple for Molokhans. And then in Soviet times, it turned into the radio station. But as independence came in the region in the 90s after the collapse of Soviet Union, many places got abandoned, including this place. And then they decided to build another art space in this building to build a community and also to protect the building, because the politics of city planning in Baku is a bit different. So there are a lot of buildings being demolished, which, in my opinion, needs to be preserved. And this building was one of the risks. So they occupied this building and they started very beautiful community, I would say. It's an art space, but it's also like the place for gathering, for talking about minorities, especially LGBT and women's rights. They were hosting a lot of festivals, workshops, concerts, community gatherings, dinners, etc., etc. And they had quite a big drama actually last May, last year. when in the middle of the festival, the guys came and they started to destroy the staircase while people were still upstairs, which was something totally, of course, unacceptable, but also shocking, you know. So this organization, the art space, is dealing with a lot of troubles from some people in Baku. But right now they actually managed to list this building as the cultural heritage. So that's a good news that nobody's going to be able to destroy this building anymore. And yeah, so we are communicating with different projects. For example, right now we have another project coming up, which is going to be a 3-month festival for LGBT rights and women's rights. And it's going to be in Azerbaijan and Georgia together on the same time. Yeah, and I think it's very important to have such organizations in the region that is not focused on commercial art, but mostly about the art that brings or talks about social issues and politics.
Thank you. Yeah, I think another thing we can mention here is that sometimes we kind of forget how in different regions, different situations, their problems are at stake. I mean, if we talk about here about like organizations and not having enough money to run it, in some countries, like for example, Azerbaijan, it could even be problematic to register.
Yeah, exactly. You cannot have NGO there, so it's very hard for them to get the fundings, even though they are already very much established. Group, community, which needs a lot of support, economical support, I mean. But yeah, it's really, really hard for them there because officially in Azerbaijan, it's very hard or even impossible, I think, to register anything that's non-governmental organization.
So this is something to kind of keep in mind because sometimes we kind of forget about that.
Yeah, when in Georgia, for example, it takes like 5 minutes to register something. It's super easy, but in Azerbaijan, it's
yeah, I think it's kind of a continuation of the Soviet legacy in a way that, like, within the Soviet Union, it was kind of not possible to gather up because you might be doing something illegal or like revolutionary, or it was also not possible to register organization because this could kind of turn into a political organization. So this is kind of the background of it.
And that's what I love about these guys. So they, even though they are not able to do it officially, they are still running the community that changes a lot of things, and now they're growing, and it's becoming quite a big thing actually.
Yeah. Thank you, Giorgi. Going back to Matthias, when we met not last time, but first time here at Kunstpunkt, actually we have to both say that we're connected to Kunstpunkt through 2 different ways, but this was our common ground where we met because you have done lots of projects here, and I curated, as I mentioned, one show here last year. So then we had a talk, and I was actually really interested and impressed by what you had to say about this network of independent spaces. And so kind of if we talk about the collaborations and about international collaborations, I think the main thing is what we could learn from each other through our experiences. So what I was impressed and interested about was that, after having these independent spaces, which we also have in Georgia, quite many, let's say, you at one point there was a need or urge, or you kind of saw that like the ground was ready for it, the soil was ready for it to start kind of working as a network, because otherwise you kind of always are like these single entities, and if you kind of turn yourself into a network, then you can become a political power. Can you kind of tell us like how it went, what was the process of it, and also what could be kind of the tricks or know-hows that some other countries could also benefit from?
Yeah, there's of course a lot to tell about those points. We started as a loose group of project-based initiatives in 2009. I mean, the history is, or historical, is project space has been in Berlin like for a long time. They have long tradition here, but it was I don't know why, but it was the first time they really wanted to do something, to start something together, work on political issues, or not to improve their working conditions, what they do. And like I said, it was a loose group at the beginning. There had been like in other places, like in different districts of Berlin, there had been like already like smaller groups or project spaces, a bunch of project spaces like Cornell-Wedding, but then it started like city-wise, like for the whole city, a network of project spaces and initiatives for the whole city. So this was pretty new, and so first, of course, you sit together and think of what is the goal, of course, what are the conditions right now, what is the situation for all of them, and then you develop something, you develop a goal, where you want to go, and of course it was clear that we needed a funding. It didn't exist any funding for especially project spaces, or so we started. The group started to start conversations with the administration, Senat Administration for Culture, and actually been lucky to find people there that appreciated our thoughts, and it started the first support, like financial support ever, in Berlin for project space and initiatives. But it wasn't a structural funding what we were demanding that time. It was an award. So we installed, together with the administration, an award for project spaces, which is a yearly award for at the beginning, like 7 project space initiatives, so like got 30,000 euros per year. So this award. This was the first money that they gave us, like 210,000 euros. It was a budget. So to make it a little bit tighter, of course. It wasn't success. It wasn't success to get this new visibility in the city for the work of project spaces and initiatives through the award. We were organizing the award ceremonies as well. Like the administration invited us to organize the ceremonies. So we got new visibility in the city, and of course, also beside that, we did our own panel discussions in cooperations with institutions like Haus der Kultur in der Welt or KW, the Kunstwerke Institute for Contemporary Art, where we developed an event series. We've been invited to do this like every Thursday, once in a while, not every Thursday, but once in a while, do some events there, and so we got, which is very important, like to raise visibility in the city, and then we had to go. The next step was like to form that association because of official money. If you want to receive official money for funding, like for projects that we did, then it was easier to form an association, which in a way was not easy for us, to make that step from a loose group of people, which is, we were like before this, we were talking about this before. Yeah. It's a kind of lose a little bit of it feels like you lose a little bit of freedom, which I think what you told about Azerbaijan, what happens there, it's like it's tough and it's strong, but they know what they're doing, what they stand for, and it's just like this freedom, and makes you also strong. What they're doing. You're totally alone. You're not accepted. You're not registered. Whatever. But of course, to get on another level, you have to. In Germany, it's not a big thing, to do that. So you form an association to get the money in. And of course, another thing is we integrate us in a bigger network, like the coalition of the independent scene, which is like cross-divisional. It's like all the art divisions are together, formed this Koalition der Freien Szene, coalition, together, which is still has no, it's not an association, has no like, what do you say, official registration, and so this is you know was a major aspect as well. Even we are not project-based initiatives that also work interdisciplinary and mostly working in fields of visual art. But we got like we've been a special section beside those divisions like dance, performing arts, music, literature, theater, visual arts. So we'd been like special section projects in space initiatives. But that gave us really, was really intelligent actually to be part of this bigger group because all our needs were discussed automatically on this bigger, on this higher level. Like the coalition of the independent scene has like this direct, like a direct call, direct call to the direct line, you know, to the administration. Because of course it's also easier for them to just talk with a whole bunch of independent artists through all the divisions, and instead of course they do this have to do this as well, like to make these bilateral discussions. It's still of course necessary. But that was also when I have to think about what could go on in Georgia or wherever. It's good like to get together in bigger network, even in bigger networks than your network, you know, which a project-based initiative is a big network. It's standing for 150 project-based initiatives in the city, but even the bigger networks. And of course you have then to speak to the politicians, to the cultural policy spokesperson. You have to contact them. You have to go. You have to make meetings and show your claims. You know where you're heading to, and then it's step by step. It doesn't come in one step, of course. It's like step by step. So we increased like our budget from that beginning from 210,000, increased it up to 800,000 right now. Even actually plus an award. Now we have like structural funding. We made it like last year, like this to the structural funding already. So we reached our goal, and we still have that award from the beginning. We left it also as an instrument, and so we have like all in all like 925,000 as a budget for project-based initiatives. So it's like it took some years, but you have to build it up, and it worked out. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you, Matthias. Yeah, I think it's like to take into consideration and to kind of slowly start building. And of course, there are lots of disagreements, and if there are many groups, then there is bigger discussions, and everyone is kind of a bit lazy to start that. But I think it's kind of unavoidable. It's a very necessary thing to start. I think we're kind of already approaching the time towards end. Is there something you would like to add, or you would like to exchange with each other or with me, or?
Well, I think the aspect, you know, what the international exchange thing, you know, of course, it's like, it's good that we sit together here and we can think of that. Yeah. But as a network existing in Berlin or alive in Berlin, I can tell it's not easy, like looking even like further, you know, like looking internationally, because there's so much things going on, and normally you have like a limited group of people that are really engaging themselves a lot, so the resources are pretty limited, you know, to get along and to go on a next level, like a national or an international level, and which I think is really important. Sometimes there's people publish books about what spaces exist in different international metropolitan cities, but this is an aspect I think which should be developed as well, you know. But it's really could be a next step, and because they have so much experiences, what we already made, that we can exchange with others, and the way around, you know. So it's
Yeah, so maybe just to kind of gather up this a little bit, what would be kind of at this moment your challenge or your goal to go next?
Well, still, we were just discussing that in our network. So we have like this meetings like every 4-6 weeks all together, and we don't have the resources to start this. We just figured out we can't start it. Yeah, there's it could be a goal, but we can't. We are not powerful enough at the moment. Yeah.
To start this international exchange.
International network.
Yeah, I think it's very important to have the international network because it's not only one small city, you know. Fortunately or unfortunately, the world is like all united right now, and we all share the troubles. And if some kind of election result is in one country, it doesn't mean that it involves only one country. It's becoming global, and I think in that case it's very important to have this international exchange of the knowledge. Also, like in this case, for example, like initiatives from Germany and initiatives from South Caucasus would communicate with each other and learn something from each other, and maybe unite the intellectual power. And I think it's very important, and for me it would be the goal to spread these connections much wider than even Germany and Georgia, but also like go to different communities in the world. And I think it's crucial for now with the globalization that it's again like one political decision in one country doesn't mean that it stays there. It's touching everything and everybody, you know. So yeah, I think it's very important to have this connection.
Yeah, and what is then, maybe we can kind of fix it now here. What is the kind of goal of the Untitled Gallery, and what's your vision for coming time? Maybe we can look at this video then later and say like, hey, this happened. So what would be the kind of your vision how to develop like over coming, I don't know, 5-10 years?
First of all, as you said, also like we cannot allow ourselves with the energy, also not only financial situation, because Georgia is quite poor compared to Germany. But our goal for now is like to work in the region to unite these three nations into one strong intellectual power again, and then maybe to grow it in the, like farther regions, like can it be like post-Soviet countries or more like Eastern Europe, etc., etc. So we would start like slowly to grow, and hopefully in the end there'll be like one big untitled space in the world.
Yeah, if there is nothing from your side to add, I think we can end on this and see how future unites us farther.
Let there be no titles.
Let there be no titles, yeah. Exactly, yeah. And no tags to what we do and how we want to do it. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
I dokładnie.
Das Berliner Netzwerk freier Projekträume und Initiativen ist ein seit August 2009 existierender loser Zusammenschluss.
Say something about the Netzwerk in English. Project spaces and initiatives are implicitly understood as independent entities. Their artistic activities and projects are not market-oriented. Their work is interdisciplinary and transcends boundaries.
Their work is characterized by fluid transitions between art production and discourse, and through their engagement, offering their art, their space and art context on projects, discussions, activities to others.
Projekträume und Initiativen verstehen sich als freie Projekträume und Initiativen im Sinne einer selbstbestimmten, selbstorganisierten Arbeitsstruktur und Weise. Ihre künstlerischen Aktivitäten und Projekte sind nicht marktorientiert. Sie arbeiten interdisziplinär und spartenübergreifend.
Die Arbeit der Projekträume und Initiativen ist gekennzeichnet durch fließende Übergänge zwischen Diskurs und Kunstproduktion.
Ich freue mich.
Okay.
Berliner Netzwerk freier Projekträume und Initiativen ist ein seit August 2009 existierender loser Zusammenschluss.
I want to say something about the Netzwerk in English. Project spaces and initiatives are implicitly understood as independent entities. Their artistic activities and projects are not market-oriented. Their work is interdisciplinary and transcends boundaries.
Their work is characterized by fluid transitions between art production and discourse, and through their engagement, offering their art, their space in art context on projects, discussions, activities to others.
Projekträume und Initiativen verstehen sich als freie Projekträume und Initiativen im Sinne einer selbstbestimmten, selbstorganisierten Arbeitsstruktur und Weise. Ihre künstlerischen Aktivitäten und Projekte sind nicht marktorientiert. Sie arbeiten interdisziplinär und spartenübergreifend.
Die Arbeit der Projekträume und Initiativen ist gekennzeichnet durch fließende Übergänge zwischen Diskurs und Kunstproduktion.
It's clean and so dirty. It's green and so dirty. The fire shaggy. It's bank and so dirty. The commanders play